What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name is Stephen Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and father on a mission to empower individuals to share their stories so they can make an impact on you. We had Hilda Jordan in the house today, owner of HMJ Consulting, an incredible story of just grit and I'll say just doing the damn thing. Wanted to go to Harvard at the age of 4, went to Harvard. Wanted to be in the law industry in Washington, D.C., did that. Came back home to Utica to start her business. We talked about what it truly takes to do it, that feeling inside of you of when you know you just have to chase something and balancing what other people are saying versus what you need to do and just getting the job done. It was an excellent episode with Hilda today, and I hope you enjoy. Let's get into Hilda Jordan. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast. I have Hilda Jordan here. Hilda Jordan. Did I say it? Hilda.
Hilda, no R.
Why did I think there was an R there?
I don't know.
Well, we're just rolling with it. I'm super excited for this because I know you a little bit just from kind of the outside. We've been in a few different events together and different community groups and all that stuff, but don't know you at the same time. So why don't we start with who you are, and then we'll get into all the different topics we want to talk to. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name is Hilda Mabel Jordan. I am a proud Afro-Latina, so I'm the daughter of 2 Latino immigrants. I was raised by a single mom in Utica, New York. Very proud of my humble beginnings, and I say that because we really grew up, I grew up with more than she had, but my mom was literally born in like a wooden hut in the Dominican Republic, right, in the late 60s. So a lot of my understanding of community, of valuing people, of, giving and giving with your left hand and not knowing what your right hand does comes from her, right? So before I knew what social equity consulting or nonprofit work was, that was just kind of the way of being. I went to all the Utica public schools, so I'm a very proud Utica City School District alumni. I went to all the bad schools also, right? So I went to Kernan, I went to Donovan, I went to Proctor. I ran track. I was a 3-sport varsity athlete, graduated salutatorian from high school. And the reason why I came back home, or really large part of the reason why I came back home to build community in particular, was that my junior year of high school, I got into the Harvard summer school program. And this was like my dream. So I dreamt of going to Harvard since I was 4. And mind you, again, right, background from where my mom comes from, yeah. I always tell folks that feels like that was divine intervention because no one in my home had a college degree, right? So at 4, I'm like, yeah, I go to preschool. I'm like, I'm going to Harvard. Uh-huh. And the logic was like, smart people go to Harvard. I am smart. Therefore, there's only one place for me to go, right? And my mom was always kind of like, not sure how we can afford it. Sure, cool. What do you need, right? And so she supported that dream all the way. And by the time I was a junior in high school, everyone who probably knew me knew that was like my dream. Yeah. And Utica, this was 2014, right? So GoFundMe wasn't as big of a thing as it is now, or online donations. And the city of Utica fundraised $10,000 in 4 days for me to go to the Harvard summer school program.
Wow.
And I remember there was an architect who came to the secretary's office in high school and gave me an envelope with $1,000 cash, right? I'd never even seen that much money together in one place. I'm like, who are you? Can I get your name to thank you or pay it forward? He's like, no, just the fact that you're doing this, is me paying it forward. Thank you for doing this, right? And the fact that just so many it was a Hallmark movie for me, right? That all these strangers, folks are mailing checks, nonprofit partners are we'll receive the donation, we'll be responsible for this, really felt this village just come around me in such a way and believe so deeply, in my dream and in my potential that I just knew I had to find a way to pay that back to Utica or to pay it forward, right? And so didn't know how. When I left here, I thought I was leaving for good. I was like, I'll donate, right? That's how I'll be philanthropic. But then after graduating, I was living in DC in 2020. So when we had our national kind of racial reckoning and like, who are we going to be or who do we want to be? I remember I was like leading hundreds of people through the streets of DC, and I'm like in front of the mayor's office, standing on like a high up landing and being like, the change has to be local. We have to push our local governments to like really reinvest in our communities if we want to see change. And the same like lightning bolt, the same like kind of like you're going to Harvard was like, go home. Like, this is not like, listen to what you're saying.
So you remember in that moment of saying like, I got to go home.
Like, I remember, and I fought it for a little while, right? But very much so I was like, Hilda, you're another DC transplant, right? Like, where do you have the most leverage or the most political influence? Like, where can you actually make a difference? And that was like, go back home. At the time, I was working at what was supposed to be my dream law firm. So I thought, I'm in the process of going back to law school. We'll get back to that. But in undergrad, I worked 20 hours a week while being a full-time student. One of those jobs was for the president of Harvard Law School and at the Harvard Law Review. I started a consulting program there as well, where I taught folks about the realities of being underprivileged and navigating social dynamics. A lot of my Harvard professors and like graduate students, that was a space. And so I remember being at the law firm and being like, oh my gosh, am I really going to leave like my dream law firm? They did progressive Supreme Court litigation, like, and there were only like 12 people in the office, right? So it was like a very high intense, like apprenticeship. Like, I filed a case at the Supreme Court, right? Like, am I really going to go home right now? And a year later, probably by the end of a year later, my mom got sick or sicker than she'd been. And I was like, okay, it's time to go home. I quit the law firm. And probably like 6 months later, started my own business, right? Because I was like, a girl's got to eat. Freelance for a little bit, but also was like, I'm a Harvard-educated paralegal who is fully bilingual, has worked in a Panamanian law firm. I think I deserve more than $50,000 a year. And that wasn't quite feasible. So I was like, let me go for it. And I started HMJ Consulting.
A lot to unpack there. I want to back up. Junior year, you talked about the Harvard summer program it was. Tell us about that. So that's when you said the community raised $10,000 for you to go to that program. So that was junior year of high school?
Yeah. So a lot of the elite universities offer summer prep programs or like summer classes. So you can go and get college credits and live there for a summer. Most folks pay tuition or like their parents like write off the check.
Right.
It can make you more competitive or not. Like, you don't have to do it. But I remember when I took the SAT my sophomore spring and my junior fall. Shameless plug. If you have a kid in high school, have them take the SAT multiple times. Latest, like, they should start at least by sophomore spring. Because by junior fall, it was based on breaking 1400s my junior fall that I got, I'm assuming that was the case, that I got mail inviting me to apply to the Harvard Summer School program.
Gotcha.
So although it was kind of like, and that's a money grab for like these elite institutions in a way, right? It was still the first time I'd ever gotten mail from Harvard that had my name on it.
Right.
And I tell this fun fact, like later on, is like after I applied and like I got in, all of a sudden, like in a random kitchen drawer, there were like letters from like Brown and other places. And I'm like, Mom, not you like hiding these opportunities. But yeah, I remember I got in and it was like the most surreal moment of like Harvard knows who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sure, I'm on some basic feeder list, but like it was so important to me being from Utica that like I was visible, right, on that stage. And so I remember getting in, and it was like months, right? And I filled out the financial aid application, hadn't heard back, and then finally kind of followed up with them like, hey, like what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, no, we'd still have to have you, but like you have to pay $7,000 in 7 days, right, for tuition. And I'm like, I cried night one, right? I got mad kind of night two, and I wrote a letter much kind of like the post you saw today that was just like, the letter then, though, different than the one today, which we'll probably talk about. Like I was like, it was an open community letter. I didn't even know who was going to go to, but I started with my teachers, right? I literally put a letter in every teacher's mailbox at Proctor. I was like, dear educator, my name is Hilda. This is my GPA. This is the work that I've done. Harvard has been my dream. Like, you can donate all the money to this organization. If I don't reach my goal, we'll return all of your money. Like, I literally just want a chance based on what I've done. S. Sean Morrell, who's no longer on the radio, like I literally saw the messages like just last year, right? Like he messaged me, he was like, hey, do you want to come on the radio and like talk about your story? And then WKTV picked it up, right? Like it just turned into this thing of like my community, like the counselors all aligned, and like Miss Scalise was just such a like godsend, right? Like folks really were like, wow, you are not, I think they saw the honesty and the work that I'd put into this dream and the guarantee, and folks really were like, yes, like this is your lifelong dream. You've worked so hard for this.
Yeah.
Anyone who knew me knew that this was my dream, right? Like this wasn't just like something that I maybe wanted to do, right? Like, I was the kid who was like, oh, why is Hilda the president of everything? No, because she's going to Harvard, right? Like, why is Hilda volunteering and working part-time at Chuck E. Cheese and playing sports? And like, because she's going to Harvard, right? And I remember after that experience, my classmates actually used to call me Harvard Hilda. So I used to play soccer. I was a defender. And I remember like the striker kind of going on like a sprint or something. And I kid you not, my midfielders would stop and be like, run, Harvard Hilda, run! And I was like, y'all are really putting the track girl to work. So it became a community like story. And everyone knew, like, even going into it, I remember we used to have Teen All-Stars. Do you remember that? The Utica OD used to kind of highlight like 20 seniors from like the Oneida County, broadly speaking, region, right? And I remember writing that like I wanted to go become a corporate lawyer. At that time, like I wanted to go to Harvard. But it was always about helping my mom and my community and like gaining access to making the world a better place, right?
Sure.
Like I may not have always, I think in high school I wasn't as like maybe social justice-y TM as I am now. But I was always the kid that was like sticking up for the kid that was getting bullied or the new person who moved in, or like, you know, I played sports, but could like move through multiple worlds at the same time.
Sure. Makes sense.
So that was just like a big part of like, my dream was always meant to be about impact for others at the same time. And so, yeah, it started in high school. Whether you were the kid who just moved and had no friends and needed someone to sit with in the dining hall, like I would sit with you, or you were like the AP student having a breakdown because what was that last exam, right?
Yeah.
Like I just appreciated being able to be there. And I felt like that junior summer, like that junior spring when that happened, that fall when I came back, right? Like I felt that love return to me kind of tenfold.
So tell us the point of coming back from the summer program to them getting into Harvard and going through that process.
Yeah. I went to Harvard and crushed it, right? So straight A, took 2 philosophy classes, and got a 4.0, which I think helped me get in, probably. But I remember sitting around, like, it was like summertime, it was just a bunch of teenagers talking about, like, well, is your responsibility to give back to the world or not, right? Like, and if you had a superpower, like, what could you change, right? Like, we were sitting here debate, like, just a bunch of teenagers, right? Like, but the conversations we were having were literally about, like, ethics and the world we wanted to live in and, like, what should we be doing? And so that was, like, I felt so at home in that space, too, right? Like, there's a sense of just, like, empowerment of, like, let's, like, why not, right? Or, like, pushing each other on these views. And I discovered my love for philosophy. Like, I'd always been me and my brother, we're a weird set of kids, but, like, would sit and watch, like, Greek mythology and then debate about whether the gods should have done this or that. My very Christian mother was like, not around for those, right? But it was a good time. And so I remember taking philosophy, read, like, what about like, what's it like to be a brain in a vat, which was my introduction to phenomenology, which is this idea of like how social constructs exist and whether or not any of this is even real, a whole metaphysics branch of philosophy. But I thought it was fascinating to think about identity in that same way and like just kind of other sociological concepts. So I knew when I came back, like from there, that I wanted to keep studying philosophy. There's just something that always called to me, and that I also belonged at Harvard.
Yeah.
Like it was such a affirmation of like, oh, everyone here is, many of the folks, right, that I also self-acclaimed to, right, were athletic and musical and like had community interests and were like really smart, but also really kind. And it was almost like this, the average expectation was like a high level of excellence that made me feel really like cool, right? Like, it's not crazy that I'm going to go do reading after sports practice and the music lesson.
Right.
So yeah, then I came back. I applied early to Harvard. I applied to Duke as well because I wanted to run track. I was in conversations with their coach. I applied to HBCU, Atlanta, Spelman, and Amherst because my mentor went there. And then I think that might have been the only place that I applied. I might have applied also to Colgate. But yeah, I applied, got into Harvard a week before my birthday. I was like, cool, that is a done deal.
That was it.
And then, yeah, I think the community, like they were kind of like, yeah, we expected you to like do well and, you know, kind of give back in that way. And so, yeah, senior year, played sports, won the Dollars for Scholars scholarship as well. So highest math average in the high school, and all like had so many wins, but also life was still kind of hard, right? And now it'll be on like camera. I'm like debating saying this, but like part of the things that I tell students, like mental health is real and coping with things is still real. Like my AP Calc teacher, I don't think he knew this, but he might have known this. Like I was in AP Calc with like a Subway cup, right, that had like Dr. Pepper and rum mixed in it, right? So it's like 1 p.m, like I'm a senior.
And that's the secret, folks.
You know? But like, I don't know, I say that because sometimes like when I tell
I love
folks
how you
who know me,
well, I think he knew this, but
maybe,
if not, he knows
Mr. Roth,
enough.
I'm sorry. If you're watching this, you know I love you. But no, it was like, because there were real, like my mom was going through a divorce at the time as well. I was working while in high school and taking care of all these like roles and responsibilities. My mom was also starting to have health issues, right? Like there was real life still going on in addition to like the performance pressure.
Oh, I love that phrase. We're going to get into that.
Yeah, like that. And so I just think that as a teenager, you find ways to cope, right? Like, so that looked like day drinking in high school for me.
So tell me about coming back. Let's fast forwarding to that moment in DC when you were like, I have to come home.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, and then the journey back, and then I want to get into starting the business.
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated Harvard burnt out. Surprise, shocker, right? To everyone, no one else but me. But in peak, like, firstborn daughter, I was like, I can't just, like, burn out and tap out. So I won a fellowship to go live abroad in Panama for a year. And so I was like, I'm going to do cultural research, which was taking dance classes and writing papers while I'm in Panama for a year. Perfect break. Need that. My dad's from Panama. This is awesome. February of 2020, right? The fellowship ends in like June. I'm like, what comes next? Let me start applying for jobs. I get this amazing like network to network, right? Like opportunity dream law firm, right? They do appellate court litigation, class action lawsuits. The only Indian man who's ever been called to like argue before the Supreme Court, like to finish an argument, right? So like it's very much so like kind of the place to be. So they offer me a like, hey, can you start like next week in March? And this was probably, or can you start in like 2 weeks? And this was like a week before the pandemic. And so I'm like, how do I tell like my fellowship people I need to leave early? And the pandemic comes. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like I have to go back to the US, right? So move into a fully furnished apartment, sight unseen. I'm like, we're doing this. And learning a new job while in lockdown. That summer, right, we kind of have a new moment, right, of racial reckoning as a country, where it's not that anything new is happening, but rather because people are at home and we have all of this sort of time and energy to like think and talk, like folks are coming out and are able to engage, right? Like this is just on the news and it was just so blatant, right? Like I don't think we'd ever really had social media coverage of like the atrocities that happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, right, in the same way. And DC was a heart of a lot of that energy. And so I started working with DC Protest, which was like a grassroots protest group. And, you know, I was just, it's funny because I wasn't out there with like a specific sort of like agenda. Like I first just went out like, this is insane, right? And I remember like just walking through the streets, just crying, right? Just straight up crying because it's just like, how long until this ends or things change? And there's like a video of me literally yelling from like the top of a light put. Like I don't even know I got there, but like an electric box that someone like somehow lifted me up to, right? And I'm leading folks like louder than a megahorn, like no mic kind of thing. And I'm just like, this is very much so just spiritual and like in this moment with God. And as I'm like really thinking about what comes next after the protest, right? Like how do we actually do anything beyond this demonstration that leads to change or that makes it so that another George Floyd doesn't happen? And like thinking about what I've read and what I've worked on, right? Like I understood like local had to be the impact for change. And so I was like, okay, local government, reinvestment in education, like let's really build up communities. And I remember being like, okay, I want to go back home and help, but I wasn't positioned to do so. So I started kind of like doing what I could from afar. So, you know.
So was this before or after the moment that you said where you
This was after, yeah.
So this was part of where you're saying you kind of fought it for a little bit.
I definitely did, right? So like kind of leading up to it, I was a year out of undergrad. I'm at the law firm. I really, really care about this. I remember being at the DC, like in front of the DC's mayor's office, and I'm like, the change has to be local. And so I'm like, okay, Hilda, like, what are you going to change locally? And so at first I was like, I'm like negotiating with God, right? I'm like, well, I can just work, you know, virtually, or I can do this alumni group here. I can start this up. I can be a part of like the equity advisory group. Like I don't have to like be in Utica to make change, right? And so like I then like went to St. Croix. Like I literally tried to go everywhere but like kind of back home because I'm like, how could I even do this work back home, right? Like, and then I moved back because my mom had gotten, like I mentioned, my mom's had some health issues sort of for most of my life. And I needed to move her out of our childhood home because the first floor was rented out to some other folks that were smoking. It was really bad for her asthma. So at 23, I bought my first home. And that brought me back home because can't exactly carry a mortgage and rent on a paralegal salary. So I came back home and I worked remotely for the law firm for a little while. Just to get our family kind of stood up. And then the longer I was here and the more involved I started getting into the local projects, I was like, I can't be split in these ways. Like I want to figure out how to really be involved with what were then somewhat like earlier conversations around these impact centers. And we're doing really cool strategic design work. I'm like, I think there's enough here. Like, I don't know how yet, but I'm going to open myself up to that opportunity.
I'm going to stop you there because I want to hit on that and you just teed me up perfectly. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to open myself up to that opportunity.
Yeah.
So far of walking through your journey, 4 years old, I'm going to Harvard, go to Harvard. Then you have this opportunity where you're in Panama and I'm going to just come back to DC. I'm showing up to this fully furnished apartment. We're doing it. And then what I want you to expand too on is coming back here and then starting the business. Don't know how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Talk to us, like, because boiling it down to we talk about this a lot, about just like betting on yourself. I'm going to do that and figure it out along the way, which you've given plenty of examples of how you've done that and continue to. And then we want to get into the post that I saw this morning that we talked about. But for people that are like feeling stuck, whether it's like, I'm in this job and I want to start this business, or I want to go for this new promotion, or I want to, work harder for whatever.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? And what advice can you give to people around that through your experience? A lot.
I don't know that I can give advice, Steven. You saw my post today.
You can give advice because you're in it, right? And I think that's the thing is, and we talked about before we recorded a little bit about your post, and you can expand on that. Of it's hard, and people who don't understand it because they're not in it. Yeah. Unless you're in it in whatever capacity that is.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think conviction is a really big piece to it, right? For me, that conviction comes through faith and what feels like a calling from God, right? Like there's something in you that knows that there's more, right? But my knowing, like, there's like something that I know that I read and then something that like I know is true.
Yeah.
Right? And I knew with the way that it settled in my like body and in my spirit, that like we got to move, right? Or like this, and it was also sharing it out loud that makes it real every time, right? Because when I decided I wanted to come back to Utica, my mom who's like, leave. My mom, right? Who wants to be around me, loves me, right? Like, is like, Hilda, there's nothing here for you, right? My ex, obviously an ex for a reason, right? Was like, why are you going there, right? And even like with Harvard, right? Like my mom, I remember colleagues telling my mom, so she's a bus driver, right? Like, I don't know why you're sending your daughter to Harvard. She's just going to go get pregnant. Right? I see your reaction. Like that is also how I felt, right? So you have to understand, I think like when you want to do something, it's like, how true is that desire? Right? When everyone leaves you, when you yourself are looking in the mirror and are like, why the huh?
Yeah.
Right? There has to be something you come back to that goes beyond your logic.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Bible verse that I think about often is like, lean not on your own understanding. Right? Or the fact that like God really gives you just enough to make the next move. Right? You're never going to know, like, just enough. And I think the question is, like, how long will you fight that nagging versus making space and room for it?
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like the folks who are thinking about it and, like, questioning it, like, my advice is, like, how many people have you told? Right? Because I think that's the first thing. Like, you have to confess, like, what's in your heart and what you want to do. That's a big part of what this post was today, right? So this morning...
let's talk about the post.
This morning, we just keep alluding to the post.
I know. Yeah. Let's hit them with it.
I feel like it should come up on a screen, right? Like, here.
Yep.
My mom, who speaks Spanish, she was like, I didn't quite understand your post. It's okay. And she gets very touchy around, like, needing, like, raw or real as opposed to... on social media, right? Like, you know, like not the curated, like, here's this event or here's this like great thing that I did. Just the real, like, hey, I am drained. I am tired. I am sad. I am feeling so lonely. And that was really honest, right? Like, I'm in therapy. I have a coach, right? Like, you can do all of the professional setups and, you know, I'm winning all these awards, right? Like we were just on the cover of the magazine together, won Business of the Year, right? Like all these wins. And it's like...
the feeling is still a feeling.
It is still the feeling, right? And I realized that the only way I was going to get past and through that feeling was by not feeling that I had to hide it anymore, right? Like that goes back to that confession piece, right? If I'm building community or want to build community where people stay, right? Where like the work that I'm doing with MUMPC is so that if you're a new person of color who wants to know Utica's Black history, you can come find it in our archives, right? Like you're a student who wants to connect with local business, like you can come find it, right? Like you're a community member and you want to know what's going on, go to the Empowerment Center, go to the Impact Center. There's someone there to help you find your people, right? But I was like, damn, like I don't feel like I found my people, right? So when you opened up today with like, you know, this is all about getting to know people on a like an actual personal level, not just what they do. I feel like folks know a lot of what I do, or at least the idea of what I do, right? Or you know the idea of Hilda, right? Like she's this really cute Black girl that like runs around Utica and like does whatever kind of like, I don't know, right? Like literally that's what people tell me. It's like, I don't know, you're doing a workshop, you're talking about stuff, you're just doing good things, right?
Yeah.
But most people don't understand what I do, right? Or why I do it, or what it means to try and do thought leadership or social equity, right? Like, I won't get credit for half of the things that I've actually seeded or done, right? Like, you've seen alumni spotlights happening across certain districts, right? Where did that come from, right? You're seeing a lot more community engagement, right? Not at all, and I can never assume causality, right? Like there's always, but the correlation is kind of like, oh, that wasn't being done before. Okay, cool. Not saying I did it, right? But like it wasn't there before and didn't come after, right? Like, but I think a part of it is also understanding like my work, and I do this work, right, with like other activists and like historical work that understand like, it's not about the win now, right? Like, I am no MLK, and I also sit with MLK having like a 60% like disapproval rating and being called the most notorious liar in the country by the FBI while he was alive, right? And now you can barely find records of that unless you're like doing deep archival work, right? But like he was actively hated. Right? And we have an entire day for him. And that's kind of like the Black history figure we all know and talk about, right? And so I recognize that to do any kind of community anti-racist transformative work will always have that kind of resistance, that kind of like critique, regardless of how big or small it can be, right? Like sometimes my small interventions, even now I'm working with some clients, like, can we just start gathering data around who you serve or like what those numbers look like or where you do outreach? And you'd be surprised, it actually takes about almost 100 hours of focus groups, workshops, presentations, strategy, like memos to get people to just do that one little thing. Yeah. Right. And so a lot of my work is this invisible intellectual and like heart work of just getting folks ready to do the better thing. But yeah, the post today, I think, and I don't know how we got fully through that tangent, but like the post today was kind of me being honest around sitting as a leader or someone who has been positioned to lead, right? Like, where do you go to talk about how that win wasn't fully a win, right? Or where do you go to like recognize like I'm eating this because that's just what I have to do, but it's not great, right?
Two things stuck out to me immediately. Three things, about four. For here they come, a lot. But one was how many people commented or reacted to it and just said,
me too.
Me too. I'm in the same boat. I'm feeling the same way. And two things from your post specifically. One, and I just forgot the other one, but the one that stuck out the most was I'm on E.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen, and if we want to just shift it to the entrepreneur conversation of starting something from scratch and just how hard that is, there's a shift of just the honesty of like, today sucked. This is really hard. And to your point, that was the other thing. I just got it back. The other thing was everyone's like congratulating me, but what for? As you said something along those lines. Not exactly, but something along those lines of like, oh, congratulate. Like, in 2 days of recording this, we're coming up on 4 years in business, right? And I'll post something. It'll be congratulations. It's like, oh, great. Yeah, we've built this, but this is where we're trying to go. And when you're wired that way, And I know there's a similarity between you and I of building that. It's like, yeah, congratulations, but I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to be here. And that's where that feeling of coming on E is, in my opinion, at least for me, is like always never enough. And where's the next step? And I'm working on this project and that project and, you know, the insurance agency and the podcast and being a father and being a husband and all these things. And then it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen a shift of people just being more transparent and sharing that. And that's why I appreciated so much seeing that. And then looking at, and it was funny, I was sitting there and I was like going to reply to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on a second, she's coming on the podcast this afternoon. I'll be able to reply to it right here live. But I just appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's important for people to see that, right? Like, yeah, this is great. All these things that are happening and all these wins and all of that. But was it a win? I don't know. You know?
And I think that there's a space, like, the amount of relief that I felt by just being able to be honest about the fact that I'm like, right now, I've got 10%, right?
And it's a season too.
And I know it's only a season, right? Like that's the big part where you tell folks, you know, I know I'm going to be okay, right? Like I know it'll get better. I have faith in God, right? Like he didn't bring me this far to just bring me this far. But I can also have the very real human experience right now. Because I think there are ways when, and you know this, right? Like your brand is not you, right? Or like the reputation, the business image, right? Whatever it is, like that's also not you, right? There's the you that's like wrestling with the doubt, right? Like I still question, like I've written tons of grants, have earned, you know, 5-figure grants, 6-figure contracts, whatever it's been. And I still question, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Right? Or like, I don't, not even just the like, I'm not doing well. It's the like, because I know that I'm doing, right? Like you're 4 years in, you haven't gone under, right? Like clearly you're doing great. Like you're like, everything's happy. But on the other side, it's like this year alone, my mom was diagnosed with another illness. My fiance and I separated. Right. I got rejected to 2 law schools. I'm waitlisted for 2 other ones. Right. Like it has kind of been a year of some really tough, some tough
and
things.
There hasn't been the post of, hey, this just happened.
You know what I mean? Right.
Like then that's the balance.
There's no in between either of like here are all the awards in between that. Right. Or even the like space for that. Like I realized when I looked on my social media, and I don't post a lot on it, but I'm like, oh, this really isn't even me, right? It's just kind of a showcase of all the projects I've had. And this was a little bit of like when folks meet me personally, or like they dance with me on the dance floor, like, or they catch me at a community party or an event that they were like, you go to this? Like, Hilda, you drink? I'm like, yes, I love a French 75. You know what I mean? Like having that moment, or like so you're not like a robot. Like you also feel things. I'm like, yes, I do. And so this was just a moment of like, you still keep going. And I think it's those resilience stories, right? And a lot of what you're doing here that folks need to also understand is the actual grind.
For sure.
Right? Like, how do you learn to show up for yourself when there's nothing left for you, right? And
you said it, performance pressure. I wrote it down. It's key.
Yeah, like, and I don't, you know, right now what I'm really praying will like come out of this has just been more of that, I don't like, I wanted to be seen like as me, right? And not like Harvard Hilda, or not like Hilda the consultant, or like Hilda the leader, just like me, Hilda. Like I've always been this way, right? Like in a certain, like I remember I sprained my ankle, or like I'd torn some ligaments in my ankle and went to go work a 3-hour shift at Chuck E. Cheese because like I was scheduled to work. And when I left and went to urgent care, they were like, how are you, like they gave me like oxys for the pain, right? Like they're like, there's no way you should have been able to do this. It's like, I'm going to push through to deliver whatever I said I was going to deliver because that's who I am. Yeah. But I realized that that's not a way to build a business or to build a legacy, right? And I think that's where that honesty for our generation is coming up with, right? It's like,
I agree.
We don't want to build a legacy that destroys our homes in the background, right? Or a legacy that we have to cope with to kind of live. And I don't think any of us has figured it out, right? Though I think we're actively trying to. And I think we're, like I mentioned, I think in my Mohawk Valley Living interview, right? Like my goal is to take more risks publicly and to try and engage with folks, right? Because I realize the biggest thing that's keeping our community in some ways from innovating and evolving on all the amazing like talent that we have is that enough folks aren't coming together or crossing those invisible barriers or borders, right? Like we hate being the only person or the first person or the few, right? Like feeling uncomfortable when everyone else seems to know each other, right? Like it's not always easy for me going into a networking event and knowing I'm going to be the only Black woman in the space. Right? Or going to talk about my consulting business and watching people the minute I say social equity or racism just like be done, right? And continuing to show up.
Yeah.
That's where some of the E comes from, right? Like I'm trying to do things that I'm still figuring out how to do while trying to convince folks to sort of come on this journey with me.
Right. We got to end it there for time.
Yeah.
Can you just really quick tell people where to find all your stuff, the consulting work and different stuff like that, and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Please find me. I'm actually rebuilding my website. So I would just say find me on LinkedIn, Hilda M. Jordan. Easiest way, I'm pretty responsive via Messenger there. I'm sorry if I was too long-winded.
No. Once we got on the post, I knew we were going to go over. That was great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Everybody go and check that out. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
All right, everybody. That's another episode of the Make an Impact podcast. Until next time, go out there, lead with purpose, and make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. We'll see you next week. Take care.